There we go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Off the Post. I'm Karen, aka Kraken, and I'll be hosting today because everybody's favorite host, DJ Redcap, couldn't be here. Flacker. We've got our regular over here, Jen Hayes. Today we have a very, very special guest with us, Seattle Reign FC's captain, Keelin Winters. Woo!
Hi, everybody.
Welcome, Keelin. We're really excited to have you on our wee little show. How are you doing? What's new with you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. And as far as what's new, not a whole lot. Just got done training, so.
Got it. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure. All right, cool. And how are you, Jen Hayes? How's it going,
Sorry,
Jen Hayes?
we have got like some serious echo going on. I don't know where it's coming from.
Probably me, but can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. How's it going?
It's actually going well other than that echo. Don't know where it's coming from.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'm doing fine. Just to give you guys all a little overview of how we usually do things, what we're going to do is we're going to cover Wednesday's games first, and then we'll have a juicy Q&A with Keelin. I say juicy because we're probably going to ask you what your favorite juice is. Just kidding. We'll do predictions for this weekend's games, and then we'll grant Keelin her freedom. So if anybody wants to chat with us while we're on air, use hashtag WosoTalk on Twitter. We'll be watching for you, and you can always leave a comment on our YouTube video while we're live. We'll be watching that too. Also, since DJ couldn't be here, he wanted me to do his joke that he usually does at the beginning, so I'm really sorry ahead of time, but here it is. If you'd like to know how drinking toilet water can save you on your heating bill, please use the hashtag DJRedCat.
God, DJ!
He made me do it. He said that he was going to try
Why
it.
did you tell him no?
Sorry. My hands were tied. So anyway, this is a kids show, which is a shame since that means DJ can no longer be on our show.
So anyway...
Right, so let's talk some soccer, since this is a soccer podcast. First game is first. We're going to talk about Boston versus Western New York Flash. Take it away, Jen Hayes.
Do we have to talk about this game?
Yeah, we sure do. Nope, we're going to talk about it.
Well, I did only get to see the first half because I had to switch over to the Chicago-Kansas City game. But from what I saw, the Flash looked flat, tired, I don't know what, but they just did not look like themselves. You know, a lot of turnovers, a lot of poor passes, some really sloppy defensive mistakes, which Boston was able to take advantage of. I mean, I don't know what they were doing on that Kai Simon goal, but it wasn't good defending. It was just a sloppy mistake, and same thing with the Natasha Dowie goal. I saw that because I saw the highlights. So, but a lot of credit to Louise Shogard for that pass. I mean, she could not have hit that over the back line any more perfectly, and Dowie does what she did so well with Liverpool. She turned and put it away. So it was two really good moves from her. Again, it's the same story we've been seeing for the past few games with the Flash. They fall behind and then they find a way to come back. I wish they didn't have to keep doing that, but it's something that we wouldn't have seen last year, where they would fall behind and then come back. Oftentimes they'd fall behind and then it's like, oh, okay, whatever, we're done, and then it would just keep getting worse and worse and worse. So, got a very important point on the road, something that we desperately needed. So, but it was a sloppy performance. It was something that they looked like they had been the team that had, traveled cross country and had played on one less day of rest, not Boston. They just looked flat, lifeless. And if they play that way against Portland, they are going to lose that game. So
Yeah.
hopefully Paul Riley can get them in and they can figure something out before the game. Otherwise, they're going to be in serious trouble.
Yeah. It looks like we lost Keelin for a little bit, so I'll just say, wait, she's back. She's back.
Sorry,
Technical difficulties.
No problem. Actually, it's perfect timing because she just finished, and now I can ask you a question. So, Keelin, you and your Reign teammates have faced Western New York Flash a couple of times this season. What are your expectations usually when you're going into a game against that team?
Yeah, I think every year it seems to be a little bit different. And this year, obviously, they've had a new coach, and I think that they've been the bunch of players that they've got on their team have found a reason to fight for that club, as opposed to, I think, in years past. I think it was difficult for the players to want to fight for their club, but this year I think their coach has really gotten them to kind of come together as a unit and play for each other and play for the club. So I think it's definitely been showing this year.
Absolutely agree with that. Cool. All right. So the next game that we're going to go into is the Washington Spirit against the Seattle Reign FC. I'll handle that one. So there were a lot of interruptions with the game, considering the whole weather situation. It's something, as a Southern Californian, I don't know much about because I don't know what weather is down here. You don't really get weather. But yeah, I think the Reign started the game really strong. You guys kept the ball for a lot of the first 15, 20 minutes for sure. A lot of shots on goal, a lot of pressure, pressuring the ball, pressuring the goal. It was exactly what I wanted as a supporter to see the Reign come out and play like that. And I think the Spirit had a couple of chances, I think, in the first half for sure, that were really scary and stuff like that. But I think for the most part, the Seattle Reign really had that first half by the rails, so to speak. But then the PK happened. Nairn, luckily for Seattle Reign, put that on the outside of the post, which was great. Probably not for the Washington Spirit fans. But yeah, I thought Reign really controlled the first half really well. But then, of course, gut punch in like the last couple of minutes of the stoppage time. That's when Crystal Dunn got that killer, crazy shot off and scored that goal. It's like the worst possible time, I think, to let a goal go in is right before the half. You really have to change your halftime speech, you know, if you're Laura Harvey when you let in a goal that close to the halftime. I thought Kelsey Weiss had a really good game. She stopped a lot of potential goals, and I think the score line would have been a lot different if she had any kind of different game, if she had a worse game than she had. So yeah, it was really unfortunate that they gave up that second goal as well. The Reign gave up that second goal as well. Just, I think throughout this last season, just the dropping of points has been a problem with the team, something that I didn't expect really. So it's been an unfortunate, just in general, year for the Reign, and then there are also just some really, really, really good things that we saw from the Reign that reminded me of the years past. So I think it was just finding that balance. Hopefully in these last couple of games, you guys can find that balance. I'm really excited to see the next game against the Spirit and what you guys have to offer at home. But I think really Washington Spirit proved in this game. This is why they're #1 in the league right now. They're the team to beat. Because if you can beat Seattle Reign FC towards the end of the season. I think that has historically proven that you're a pretty good team. So yeah, let's move on over to Keelin. What do you think that the Reign as a team did really well in that match, and where do you think the team might have maybe fallen short?
I'll start off with where we fell short, and I think that's controlling the tempo of the game. So when we were in Chicago, the previous game, in the first half, we were leading 2-0, controlling the tempo, and then Chicago started to kind of build some energy and build some good play, and then ended up scoring a goal to make it 2-1. And I thought that we did a really good job of, from there, getting back control of the game. And then moving into DC, it was like we never really found that consistency, and we never really found that we were really controlling the tempo of the game. It just became, we needed those 3 points, so it felt like it was fairly frantic at times. And, you obviously want to be able to harness that energy and some consistency in your play, but I don't think that we did a very good job of being able to control that frantic energy and kind of, control that and keep control of the game, keep control of the ball, and possess the ball. Yeah. On the other hand, I do think that the last 25 minutes of the game, I do think that we did a better job of controlling the game. I think we had some serious chances, and we could have scored more than 1 goal. So, if you're going to take a positive away from that, it ain't over till it's over, right? And so I guess that's one positive that as a team we can take away, kind of that fighter mentality.
Right. You guys have always had that historically have always had that fighting mentality all the way to the end of the game, which I always think about that game against Sky Blue FC that was kind of towards the end of the season last season when it was just like pouring buckets and Fishlock scored that goal.
Yeah.
It was like the greatest moment ever. But yeah, I always think about that. You guys are definitely that type of team that fights to get back. So maybe, hopefully, we're going to see that throughout the season. I hope so, as a supporter of your team. And you guys are going to come in and sweep that 4th spot. Sorry, Jen Hayes.
We're doing our damnedest.
I'm excited to see it. All right. So we're going to go next into Sky Blue versus Orlando Pride. Take it away, Jen Hayes.
Can somebody please find some money and buy Ashlyn Harris a decent back line before her blood pressure goes through the roof? Oh my God. She can make save after save for 89 minutes, and then her back line just lets in one stupid mistake, and there goes the shutout. And poor Ashlyn Harris. You gotta feel so bad for her because she is doing everything she can to get results, and it's just silly mistakes from her back line that are costing them goals.
Yep.
So that was probably a total gut punch for Orlando. But on the positive side for the Pride, I thought they actually played really well. I thought for most of the game they were the better team. The Sky Blue had to make a lot of frantic last-second stops to keep the Pride off the board. Alex Morgan had that really great goal, brilliant ball up from, I think it was Maddie Evans who sent that up to her, and she just put it away. I mean, when you have a striker the quality of Alex Morgan, she's not going to miss that. Maybe 1 out of 10 times she'll miss it. So it was a good goal. Again, it was just a really sloppy defensive mistake. But good on Sam Kerr for doing what you should do, is follow up the shot, because you never know when you're going to get a rebound. And fortunately for her, she got when they put it in, and they got a result. It wasn't enough to keep them in the playoffs, unfortunately, because they're 6 points back now, and they lose out on tiebreakers. So
yeah,
it's a bit too late for Sky Blue to salvage their season. But I think overall they have actually been a very pleasant surprise for me and for a lot of other people, because I did pick them to finish last. I thought with the players they had lost, getting a new coach so late in the off season, I just didn't think it was going to click. And while they've had their struggles, they've also had some really good moments. I mean, I think they opened up a lot of people's eyes when, sorry to bring this up, but they go into Memorial Stadium and do something that no one had done until then, and that was get a win there. So I think that was the first sign. It's like, hold on a second, maybe this team isn't so bad. And they've had some good results. I think the first game they played against the Flash, they probably should have won because they controlled most of it, but just a bad call against them and an unfortunate no call against them, and there go 3 points. So as far as Orlando, it's just they played so well. They did something I thought they haven't actually done in a while, and that was control it. It wasn't just long balls up to Alex Morgan for 90 minutes. They had some moments of good possession. Another solid game from Kristen Edmonds, who, now that she's able to play further up the field, is showing what she can do, which she wasn't able to do with the Flash because she was often stuck on the back line when she played. So
Right.
I think moving to Orlando has probably been one of the best things she could have done. She's been able to shine and really show what she can do. So that was a good move for her. But I think Orlando needs to go out and get some help. They don't have draft picks in the first 2 rounds, which is a problem because it's going to be a really strong draft class. So they might, whether it's signings, trades, whatever, they have holes everywhere on the field that they need to fill. So it'll be interesting to watch and see what they do in the off season.
Agreed. All right, let's swing over to Keelin again. Tell us a little bit about your experience playing against Orlando Pride and against Sky Blue FC.
Yeah, Tom Sermani's he's going to build a great team. So you just mentioned that they need to get draft picks, but the problem with the draft is that you never really know who's going to pan out. And so yes, while draft picks are important, I would actually, if I was a coach, I wouldn't put priority on the draft picks. And I think Tom Sermani has so much experience on the international level that he's going to go out and he's going to find the best internationals. He's been in the United States now to know who the best players are. So I have a feeling that Orlando's going to be making a ton of trades this offseason to try and get the players that Tom Sermani believes he's going to be, the team of the future, leading into the next few years for them. As for the Sky Blue FC, they're the team that in the last 2 seasons, yes, we've gotten the better of them the last 2 seasons, but I would actually say from my memory, they're the team that has caused us some more issues than you would think. So you mentioned just before, Sky Blue last year. Yes, Bishop got that game winner at that was basically just tying the game for us with the header. They almost took that game from us. And then this year, they come back in the first game of Memorial. They beat us. And so, yeah, we've beaten them more times than they've beaten us, but I actually think just from my memory at least, they're one of the teams that has caused us, along with FCKC, has caused us, the most issues out of any of the teams in the league. So they obviously have a new coach, and he's doing something right. So
very true. All right, let's go to our next game, which looks like it is our game of the week, and that is Chicago Red Stars versus FC Kansas City. Game of the week, obviously, because it was televised, which is always exciting. We're always excited to see women's soccer on TV. So yeah, let's go first of all to Jen Hayes. What did you see from FCKC?
What did I see from them? I saw a team that didn't want to leave the season going down quietly. No, they did win the title the last 2 years. They wanted to show that we're not going to win it this year, but we're still a good team. And they really took it to Chicago. I mean, Shea Groom had a great game. That, I think it was the third goal they scored, was her brace goal, the diving header. That's something that you don't see from a handful of players. I mean, Abby Wambach made a living on that for years, but it was just something that a lot of players don't go to because it is putting your body on the line. So it was great to see her in that type of situation. You know, it's like we're not in this, but maybe we can play spoiler, putting her body on the line to try to get a result for her team. So, you know, kudos to her. I mean, kudos to the entire Kansas City team. They could have rolled up shop and say, we'll just play for whatever and then come back and try to win it next year. No, they were trying to get a result, and I thought they played really well. Heather O'Reilly, I mean, what more can you say about her? She was unstoppable. I don't know if it was because the Chicago backline was just so tired because the outside backs play so high up all the time, or if she was just on it. But I mean, you saw by the end of the game, Erin Gilliland could hardly move. She was exhausted trying to keep up with the speed that Kansas City has, especially from Heather O'Reilly. So she had another really, really strong, typical Hayo game. Almost 90 minutes of, you know, running up, causing havoc, putting in some really good crosses. But probably my favorite moment of the match was after the second Chicago goal, and they showed poor Becky Sauerbrun's face, and I'm like, yeah, that is going to get a ton of usage on the internet for years to come, because that was classic. It's like, no, that didn't go in, even though it did. So that was probably my favorite. Besides the Shea Groom diving header goal, that's probably my favorite moment from Kansas City. Yeah, that press breaking Yaya's ankles on her goal. That was awesome too.
Oh yeah, her bender goal, that was sick.
Oh, that was gorgeous.
Whatever, Kristen Press. Man. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about Chicago. I think you pretty much covered. I think what I really saw from them was that backline issue. They could not handle Hayo's speed or Shea Groom's speed, so that was pretty much their downfall. And I think, you know, I always say this, like in the last 2 years I've said this a lot, and it's probably because I'm a little bit biased because I'm a Reign fan, and FCKC always comes out and takes us out of the championship match. But I've always said this, it's just kind of like a little boring to watch Kansas City play sometimes. They put me to sleep a little bit, and they get the results, kind of like Sweden, like they get the results, but it's just like, God, like coming from watching like Seattle Reign, where you just see this like fast-paced, ball-controlling, like super snazzy stuff, and then you watch FC Kansas City and you're like, oh, well, they won, but like I'm really tired now. But this game was totally different, and it's almost like not making it into the playoffs, knowing that they're not in the playoffs, like took all of this pressure off of them, and they were just having fun. It's the best that I've seen them play, and I just think that Chicago does have that pressure on them, and it kind of showed. So you have like the contradiction between those two teams, and FC Kansas City was just too much for Chicago to handle in this game. So it's kind of cool to watch, and I always like these like spoiler teams coming in and getting wins off of teams that are vying for the playoffs. That always makes it really interesting as a soccer fan. So that was super cool. And we'll go to you, Keelin. You guys are pretty familiar with FCKC, playing against them in 2 championship matches. You played against Chicago Red Stars last weekend. What are some insights you have into both those teams?
Yeah, this year, obviously, after the result we had for the last 2 games, it was maybe the first time that I was extremely happy that Kansas City won. Because just statistically speaking, it gives us a chance. It's a small chance, but it gives us a chance to make the playoffs. So we'll take it. So I don't think I've ever been so happy that Kansas City won. But Shea Groom's been playing great all season. And this year she's probably one of my least favorite players to come up against because she's so disruptive. And she does. She puts her body on the line, just as you were saying, Jen. And yeah, I don't think a lot of players do it to the extent that she does, and it works for her. And she scored numerous goals this season from that. As for Chicago, obviously they had going into that game, they had a chance to kind of put the playoff spot to bed and put it to rest. They weren't able to do it, so once again, there's someone looking out for us somewhere around the universe. But you're right, Press had a great goal. But she's a class player, and I think you'll continue to see more goals like that well into the future.
Absolutely. All right, cool. Thank you. We're going to go into Portland Thorns against the Dash, and I'll take this one. Mostly, I just want to talk about how killer good Kat Reynolds was in defense against Kalia Ojai. Like, in the last couple of games that the Dash have played, it's been so impressive to watch Ojai play. She shows that she has world-class player. She put that captain's armband on, and she just, like, took the entire team onto her shoulders and started scoring so many goals that I couldn't even keep track of how many goals she was scoring in the last couple of games. I think it's like, is it like 9 over the last 8 games or something like that?
Yeah, as of yesterday, it was 9 goals in 8 games.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, she's a goal-scoring machine right now, and the fact that Portland has been the first team that they've played in the last couple of games that's been able to keep her from scoring says a lot about Kat Reynolds. And I think, just honestly, Portland's team defense in that game was so impressive, and I think that's really what sealed it for them. They were just constantly pressuring the ball, constantly pressuring the Dash goal, and they put away the chances that they got, which has kind of been an issue for all teams throughout the league, especially at the beginning, I think, of the season. So, with the way that Portland was putting away the goals, the way that Ali Long was playing, the way that the entire midfield was playing, but especially Portland's defense, and obviously Betos, who's always solid in goal. Portland is just the better team out there, and I think when you add in the fact that Carly Lloyd really wasn't having the type of game that she was pretty much stymied. She was very quiet in that game as well. So, I mean, when you put Ali Long, Tobin Heath, Blair, Reynolds, Betos, the entire team pretty much was making a huge difference for Portland. And then, obviously, being at home is always an advantage for Portland because they have, like, 20,000 fans who are sitting there, like, wanting them to win. So, yeah, I think it was just not a good game for the Dash. And it was a really, really good game for Portland, and that put Portland up 3-1. So, was it 3-1? 3-0. I should know, since it's my game that I'm covering. It was 3-0?
Yeah, they shut out Houston.
We're good. Okay, yeah. It was a shutout. So Houston didn't even get any goals. So it says a lot about Portland's defense. And I think, just small note, but it says a lot about their fans that the second they clinched that playoff spot, those fans were on their feet. And you could hear in the broadcast just how loud that fan base was about that, how excited they were about that. And that's pretty much what women's soccer boils down to. That's what National Women's Soccer League boils down to. So that was really exciting to see. And, you know, even as a Reign supporter, it's really nice to see Portland Thorns having that kind of fan base. So I think that had a lot to do with the scoreline as well. But yeah, Kat Reynolds was player of the match for me for that match. She was so impressive in defense. So yeah, I'm gonna swing over to Keelin again. So you have a really big leadership role on the Seattle Reign. You're the captain, obviously. So you have a lot of things that you have to worry about during the game, and I was just curious, do you have more that you tend to have to worry about when you're going up against your rival team, Portland Thorns? Because it's always a great game to watch, but there's always something there, like the refereeing or, like tough tackles or tough plays. Like, do you have to worry more about going against Portland Thorns just as the captain, on top of the player that you are?
Actually, it's the opposite. I feel like I have less to worry about because that game means so much that everybody on the squad, whether you're starting or you're on the bench, knows how big the game is. And there's always something to be, like, in that rivalry, there's always something to be played for. And so I actually feel like I have less to worry about because I know that everybody's doing everything they can to show up come game day and to bring that energy. If there's anything I think I have to worry about, it's just, somebody blowing up at the referee, and occasionally I can be guilty of that as well. So somebody might need to bring me, get me to shut up as well. But no, it's actually quite the opposite. I feel like I have less to worry about on those game days as opposed to, a run-of-the-mill game middle of the season.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I've definitely been guilty of yelling at the refs during those games too, obviously, but he can't hear me because I'm behind the TV screen. All right, let's go into our Q&A portion. We each have a couple of questions for you, Keelin. I don't think anybody's asked any questions on the internet yet. I kind of checked just to make sure. So, Jen Hayes, do you want to ask her a question first?
Yes, this is kind of not serious, but on a scale of 1 to the limit does not exist, how excited were you and the rest of the team when you found out Naho is coming back this season?
Oh, God. If it was on a scale of 1 to 10, it would be 11. It would be off the charts. She brings so much to this team, not only just, her on the field composure, and she's so technical and she's a great goal scorer, but off the field, she's just, she's so much fun. She's super positive. And just having her around, everybody loves having her around. And we wish she could stay forever.
So do I. Yeah, we were just talking about how she kind of brings a calm to you guys that really wasn't there in a way, at the beginning of the season. You just seem like you're more put together, you're calmer on the field with her.
Yeah, the first game that she played with us, I think she scored 2 goals. And she was just finding those pockets of space that, nobody else was finding. And she had an immense amount of pressure on her on the field, and still she's super composed on the ball and able to get out of situations that you might be surprised about.
Agreed. Definitely excited to have her back on the team. All right, so this is my question, and mine is also a little bit less serious, but your team wins a game, you're all excited and stuff, you go out to a bar with the gals to celebrate. What drink do you get when you go up to the bartender?
I normally crave some sort of beer after the game. It's either going to be an IPA or a light beer, like a cheap beer. So it's going to be something, it's going to be opposite ends of the spectrum. It's going to be like an IPA or it's going to be like a Coors Light. So it just depends on how my stomach's feeling after the game.
Awesome. You got to get those carbs.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Jen Hayes, what's your next question?
Yeah, you've played in Germany, you've played in Australia, played in Youth World Cups. What is the one stadium that you have played in abroad, so not in the U.S., that you most enjoyed?
The one that comes to mind that I can't say that I enjoyed because my team got beat, and there's a decent crowd there, was Wolfsburg in Germany. We drove there, and I, being American and not knowing where the heck I was going, we were driving, ways out into the country, and then we roll into Wolfsburg, and there it is. It's the VW factories and everything, and then all of a sudden there's just this massive, nice soccer stadium, and there is a pretty decent sized crowd there. And at the time I was playing there in 2012, I think they might have gone on to win the league that year. I can't remember, but they had a great team at the time, and the fan base that they had was also pretty good. So I can't say I enjoyed it because we got beat, but it was a nice stadium and it was a nice pitch. So I think the soccer fan that day would have enjoyed that game.
Awesome. Good answer. All right. And then my team is also a little bit more on the serious side, but being a Rain FC supporter, it's really important for me that that a team is supporting its players, not just supporting, but making them feel appreciated, making them feel like they're a part of the family, pretty much, and protected. So that's the thing that really sold me on Seattle Rain FC is that feeling that I get from the team just being a supporter, even from like way down here in Southern California. What for you is the one thing that makes you really proud of being on Seattle Rain FC, being a part of the franchise?
A couple of things. The first being that we have an ownership group and a head coach that are invested in our team for the right reasons. So our owner, Bill Predmore, isn't into this as a hobby. He didn't just like stumble upon a chance to own a professional athletic team. You know, he and his wife, Teresa, have done an outstanding job being professional, and their goal is to build the best women's football club in the world. And they say that, and I don't think there's any other. I don't think many other clubs in this league say that that's what they want to do. Maybe Portland could do that. So that makes it really easy for a player when you have an ownership group and you have a head coach, and they're going to do everything they can to treat you as a professional and have you worry about just your soccer, which is your job, instead of having to worry about how you're going to feed yourself, how you're going to pay for rent. They're trying to do all these things that just allow us as professional soccer players to just focus on our game. And so that makes it really easy to fight for your club. So all of us, I think that's probably where we get that fighter mentality, is that there is something to fight for. We're fighting for each other, but we're also fighting for the badge that we have on our shirts.
Yeah, love it. That's why I love you guys. Okay. And we have one question from one of our panelists as well, and she wants to know what sorts of changes do you guys think you might be making before this game that's coming up on Sunday against Washington Spirit?
As far as like personnel goes, I don't think that there's going to be too many changes as far as who's playing. But keep in mind that it is our third game in, I think, 8 weeks. So with that said, the players that have been getting a lot of minutes this week might not be able to play a whole 90 minutes just because aerobically speaking and fatigue speaking, it's just not possible at this level. Excuse me. And so I just think that probably what you'll see is you might not see some like other people starting, but you're definitely going to see substitutions. And I think those substitutions have to be, depending on the state of the game, they have to be fairly aggressive substitutions because we need these 3 points. If we don't win, we're out of playoffs. And so that's probably what I would keep in mind. I would probably just keep in mind that there will more than likely be substitutions early, and depending on whether we're ahead, we're tied, or we're losing, regardless of that, they're going to have to be substitutions that ensure that we win that game.
Awesome. That sounds like a good plan to me. All right. Real quickly, we're just going to do our player of the week. Jen Hayes, who's your player of the week?
Ooh. Player this half week. Shoot. I'm gonna go Tosh Dowie. Just the way that she has really helped spark up Boston in recent weeks, and had another really great goal this week. I'm gonna go with her. Thought she was great.
I also picked Tosh Dowie for the same exact reason. Look at us. All right, cool. That was quick. We're just going to real quickly go through predictions for the next couple of games, Saturday and Sunday. Orlando Pride versus Sky Blue FC. I said that it's going to be a tie, 1-1, because I'm a cheater. So what do you think, James?
Actually, you know what? I think Orlando might sneak this one out. So I think they'll finally get their crap in order defensively, and they might get if it's not 1-0, it'll be 2-1. But I think Orlando will take this one. I hope they don't, but I think they will.
All right, cool. And don't worry, Keelin, we won't ask you to make predictions on these games. It's kind of a tall order. The next game is FC Kansas City against Chicago Red Stars. I cheated on this one, too. I said that it's going to be 2-2. How about you, Jen Hayes?
I'll say it's a draw, too, but I'll say 1-1.
Cool. Awesome. All right, and then next we have Houston Dash against Boston Breakers on Sunday. I'm giving this to Houston Dash. It's going to be 3-1. How about you, Jen Hayes?
I'll go bold and I'll say 4-0 Houston.
Woo! Cool. Sounds like a plan. Next, we have Portland Thorns FC against Western New York Flash. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a Reign fan and I want Flash to lose. Sorry, Jen. But I'm going to say Portland's going to take this one 3-1. How about you?
Everyone's probably expecting me to say the Flash, aren't they? I'm going Portland 2-0.
Woo! Look at you.
I'm not I throw away my homework card when it comes to predictions. I think Portland's going to take this one.
I don't think I've ever had a homework card, so there's that. Next, we have Seattle. This is the last game, it looks like. Seattle Reign FC against Washington Spirit. I'm giving that to Seattle. It's going to be 2-0. Boom. How about you?
I'm going to go a 1-1 draw. I think it's going to be a draw.
All right. Cool. All right. And then last but not least, Keelin, we're really, really appreciative that you were here today with us. We took a bunch of your time out of your Friday. But if there is anything that you want to plug, anything that you're doing outside of soccer, I know that you have a couple of organizations that you work with. Please feel free to do that. We'll definitely share any of that information on our social media as well.
Yeah, so a few years ago, I started my own soccer training business called Pro Skills Soccer. And all of the coaches involved in this LLC that I have going on are current or former professional players. So we all come from different backgrounds, and we all took different paths to get to where we are as professionals. But I think it's great because now we get to go out into the youth soccer world and kind of share our knowledge and our, I guess, our experience with the youth players here mostly in the Seattle area, but we do travel as well. So I think it's great for us to get out and kind of interact with all the youth players in the area. But the other thing that I also do is I run adult clinics specifically are intended for women, although we allow all sorts of individuals out, so the LGBTQ community, no matter how you identify, are welcome to come out. And that's an amazing time because obviously it's more of a peer-to-peer relationship rather than a coach-to-player relationship where there's quite an age difference. In fact, a lot of the players that come out to the clinics are older than me. But it's super fun. We have a really awesome community that comes out and plays, and then we try and go share a beer afterwards.
That sounds amazing. You're making me want to just move to Seattle right now. Awesome. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much, Keelin Winters. We are super, super happy to have you on anytime. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Friday. We would always be pleased to have you on, and any of your teammates as well. Thank you to your team as well for giving you to us for a little bit of this day. And yeah, like I said, you're always welcome here.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on. You guys enjoy your weekend.
Thank
you so much for joining us. It was an absolute honor.
Yeah, of course. Let it rain.
Woo! Yeah. All right, cool.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.